What's up, guys? Hey, listen, game day, big game, not as big, I believe. It's getting a lot of gears turning at the same time. Good afternoon to you. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is the new Double Shot Show that comes your way at 4 p.m. Eastern Time every weekday. Steelers versus Giants is an 8:15 p.m. kickoff across the river here tonight. And on the surface, it's not a great matchup. It's not something that anybody anywhere should be looking forward to, kind of like most Monday night games. But if this football team can round things out, and by that I mean an all-around performance, well, for one thing, it'd be a first. I mean, let's call this like it is. We can say, well, the Steelers are 5-2. They're all by themselves right now atop the AFC North since the Ravens lost yesterday. They're 3-1 in the conference, fourth in the league in points differential. And you can turn that into whatever you want. But listen, you and I are watching this team. You and I are seeing these games play out in real time. And you and I have seen 7 games so far, no exceptions, in which something or multiple somethings would occur where you'd go, geez, really? Really? They still don't have that? Or they're not going to develop that? Or that part's not getting better? Look, I'm not getting greedy here. I'm not one of those, okay? I'm not looking for 40-0. Let me get through the entire event without biting my nails kind of sentiment here, okay? It's a tough, tough league. Look at all the upsets that occurred yesterday. Look at all the upsets that occur every week around the league. But I'd like to see this team before the bye just nail one. And everybody does it. There are no exceptions to this. Even the bad teams will just nail one. This feels like the right time to do that. Not to be the one who looks too far ahead, but after the bye, it's Washington, which is now sky high with the Commanders and the Hail Mary yesterday. They've also had a really good overall start. And then comes, all of the Baltimores, and then you get into the holiday season, and there's Kansas City, and it's going to get tough. Okay, it's going to get tougher than what it's been. Now is the right time. Now is when you say, all right, you want to put up points as an offense. You want to do it against, one of the lousiest pass defenses in football. You want to make things happen, but you want to make them happen in a balanced, confidence-asserting way. You want to see both Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren run effectively. You want to see George Pickens and somebody else, maybe Pat Freiermuth, finally have some kind of heavy target game. You want to see the offensive line, however it's currently comprised, continue building up some of that feel good that they have. And trust me, from talking to them, it's getting there. It's not all the way there, but it's getting there. Have one that's thorough. And yeah, I don't know even what to say about Russell Wilson, because it's not like Russ hasn't been there, done that. But then Russ would have a game too where it's like, all right, I don't have to explain to anybody why I threw those ridiculous underthrows in the first half. It was all just rust. I'm feeling great. It's my football team. That's what you want defensively. Make a splash play for the first time in more than a year. Let's see Beanie Bishop assert himself before Cam Sutton comes back and presumably takes his job, so that you know that you've got not one nickel corner, but 2 nickel corners. Get thorough. You notice the only thing I'm not mentioning here is special teams, right? That's because we're just now taking them for granted. They've been spectacular in every single way. All I'm saying is I don't want to see this team cross into that bye limping, whether it's with a W or not. They have been telling me, Calvin Austin has enunciated it better than anybody else in our conversations, that, listen, we know it's not perfect. We know it's not where we want it to be, but at least we've been winning. We've been learning, but we've also been winning along the way. Okay, well, let this one be that last paper that you get graded an A+ by the professor before you go on your Christmas break. Let it be that. When we come back, heading to the South Side. At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects. Joined now by Chris Halleck. And Chris, I'm talking about next level stuff here, and it might come across as a little bit nebulous here. So let's take it a little bit deeper. Let's look at, well, not the offense. We always talk about the offense on here. What is next level for this defense? Because they have these statistics that just sing to you. So you could say to yourself, just looking at the numbers, well, they're as good as they can be. But that's not the case.
No, and if you ask any of them, I mean, you know just as much as I do. They act like they have the worst defense in the league.
They actually kind of do.
No, the first thing that comes to mind, honestly, and it's just right off the bat, is sacking the quarterback. The numbers are definitely down this year in terms of getting after the quarterback. They're creating pressure, and they're not blitzing a whole lot, which you're not making a lot of investment in trying to sack the quarterback, so you're not getting a lot of them. But, the overall defensive performance is great so far. So, okay, then that's fine. But it would still be really good if you had those impact plays, if TJ Watt got back there a little bit more often, if Alex Highsmith ended up getting some sacks. And he played more than good enough in order to get at least some holding calls last week that he didn't get. But I would just say overall sacking the quarterback, that's got to be I would say the next level, because then you're talking about even shorter drives for the opposing offense. And tonight, I think, is a really good chance for them to do it.
Well, where TJ is concerned specifically, it's funny because you can look at his showing last week and define it almost entirely based on what the Jets did to him, as opposed to the other way around. The Jets had 2, sometimes 3 guys over there. That's not a normal attack plan against TJ. Most teams don't do that. Indianapolis didn't even do that. Remember when the Colts were doing all that bragging when you and I were out there, and that we figured him out, that we solved him, and all they did was basically a tight end chip on him. Okay, that wasn't what the Jets did. The Jets sent a quarter of their defense over there to stop him. Now, on one hand, you can say, if you're TJ, if you're Terrell Lawson, if you're Mike Tomlin, well, that sure is flattering, and that's great, and we'll take that all day because that frees up Keanu Benton and Cam Hayward and Highsmith and everybody. But I'm sorry, I can't get through another week of no solo tackles, 1 assist, and 2 quarterback hurries, which, by the way, ended up being TJ's line against the Jets. To me, it's incumbent on the Steelers, isn't it, that you don't have to Max Crosby him all over the place, but you could move him around the line. You could make him more dynamic than he is.
And I do think they probably need to start blitzing a little bit more often. It doesn't have to be all these, exotic 6-man rushes or anything like that. Just bring an extra guy. You bring
who?
It could be Patrick Queen. Patrick Queen was a really good blitzer in Baltimore.
He's not doing that at all in Pittsburgh. At all. I was sure you were going to say Landon Roberts.
That was the next name I was thinking of, was Landon Roberts. You could bring him too. Peyton Wilson absolutely has the speed to do it. I mean, I remember seeing some of his tape at NC State where if he had that ability to kind of get that, where they kind of like take that step back and then go, he's got the speed to get, because by that time the offensive line is already back in their protection. They're okay. You got 2 guys over on TJ, and then especially if it's like your typical 4-man front, if you kind of bring Peyton on a little bit of a delayed blitz, it can throw.
They don't do that. What you're describing, they just I know you know this, okay, but they don't do that, and we have seen teams do it. Here we go again with the Colts. The Colts did this. Remember, they were masterful at their delayed blitzes. The way they brought their linebackers was something that neither Justin Fields that day nor anybody on the offensive line could plan for. Oh, poor Broderick Jones that day. You know what I'm talking about. That was rough. But do that. I would like to see that, if only just to start showing some different things on film. This is, again, not that you sit here and you take for granted the victory and whatever else, but you want to start putting some other things on film heading into the bye week so that everybody has something else to think about. And to me, this defense has felt, forgive me for this because they've been very good, predictable. You know exactly where they're going to be and what they're going to try to do on every snap.
But to Terry Lawson's credit on that, they're the second-ranked defense by playing pretty vanilla defense. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I get that. That's why I said I don't have a really strong foundation to be standing on here, you know?
And there is another level there. And I don't think it's just, well, the guys just have to win their blocks more often. It's like, you know, those guys on the other side get paid too, you know, that old adage that they keep saying over and over again. But there is merit to that. This is the NFL. There's not that big of a drop off between, even though it seems like it record wise, and there are some pretty bad football teams, those are still NFL players, and there's still good players on the other side. They do need to bring more pressure. I do think that's something that has to develop. And maybe they're just like, you know what, once we get to a comfort level with what Joey Porter Jr. and Dante Jackson and Minka Fitzpatrick and Deshaun Elliott and what all those guys can do on the back end, or with what the linebackers are doing, then maybe they'll be more comfortable with sending the house. But for now, it's kind of been a little lacking.
Last thing I have for you, Chris, is specifically regarding Daniel Jones. And look, the Giants are a tough team to analyze because they've been so bad. He's been so bad. Jones has that, you know, they have to make pronouncements during the week that, yes, he's still our guy. That's never a good place to be in. But what Jones is, and what he rolled out of bed this morning as, is really fast, like crazy fast. Like, we're talking about him and Peyton Wilson in a foot race.
Yeah.
Okay. It's really, really fast football players. Do you, as the Steelers, as opposed to trying to chase him, do you spy him, or do you pseudo spy him? Do you say to somebody, hey, just kind of do this, keep a side eye on him at all times and make sure that he doesn't get out of that pocket?
The one thing that it doesn't necessarily have to be a spy, but the one thing that the edge rushers need to make sure that they don't do is run past him.
The old Bud Dupree technique.
You don't want to run past him because you know the edge rushers will come up. You know they'll come up on the sides there, and if they get past him, then that opens up a lane for Daniel Jones to escape to the outside. Some of the pressure that I've seen that teams have done is like it's almost just like this 5-man front that just kind of comes evenly all together. And that gives him nowhere to go.
The Steelers are equipped for this, though, because this is the Lamar Jackson plan, is it not? This is why Lamar is 2-4 against the Steelers in his career with a 66-point-something quarterback rating, because they do this on him. They kind of just do like the claw from Toy Story. You know, just like,
that's pretty much what they need to do. And the good thing is for the Steelers, they are so used to having to go up against mobile quarterbacks. But this is more, and you know, Cam Hayward alluded to it like this week. This is more trying to defend Josh Allen in terms of the way he runs, as opposed to Lamar Jackson. So it is a bit of a different. It is a bit of a different way to defend a mobile quarterback. Just the main difference, obviously, there is Josh Allen is an elite passer and Daniel Jones is not. So
no, he is not.
They have to try to contain him because he will tear you apart with his legs. He can. They will be prepared for it. Trust me. That has been something they have been harping on all week long.
Chris, I'll see you over at the stadium tonight. Everyone else, hang around for the J1Q.
Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different. Help prevent gun accidents, misuse, and theft. Keep firearms safe and secure when not in use. For safe storage options, visit projectchildsafe.org.
Today's J1Q comes from Jimmy Straich in Ridgeway, Pennsylvania.
Whenever a wide receiver becomes available, the Steelers are obviously rumored to go for him. But people on this site always say, I wouldn't give up a second-round pick for Cooper Kupp, or I wouldn't give up more than a fourth-round pick for Devontae Adams. Don't you think the Steelers fans, especially on here, are really overvaluing Steelers draft picks considering their most recent draft history?
Yes. Jimmy, the check's in the mail. I'm going to actually play your question anytime anybody brings that up with me. I don't get it. But it's not just what you're talking about. It's not just, oh, we can't give up a second rounder for so-and-so, but we can give up a third rounder. There's even people who will acknowledge or suspect, I think is the better word, that the Steelers will manipulate Justin Fields' playing time. Think about this. The starting quarterback. They will manipulate his playing time so that they can avoid giving the Bears a fourth-round pick instead of a sixth-rounder or something. Listen, I understand that the NFL draft is a really, really big deal in our world. It just is. And I understand that there's an intense interest in all aspects of it. I also understand that it's not as big as the football season that's being played. It might feel like it at the time. It probably feels even bigger, but it's not. The games are what count. The championships are what count. When you look at the Steelers in their recent history, and you mentioned it, they've had some lousy second round picks. They've had some that seemed good at the beginning and then kind of faded off. Chase Claypool was one. Everybody was raving about that. Don't rewind that history. But then, you're looking at Zach Frazier right now and you think, yeah, that's a real commodity. You look at Roman Wilson and you're going, yeah. He wasn't a second rounder, he was a third rounder. But these things just aren't as important as what I'm about to say. Once more, from the opening segment to now, Steelers are 5-2. The expectation should be that they're 6-2 by the end of tonight. Wonderful. Awesome. First place in the AFC North, 3-1 in the conference, all that good stuff. That's what matters. Winning a playoff game, putting yourself into good playoff seeding to win that playoff game, to win another playoff game, to go however far. You never know. If you look at the Steelers championship history, you'll see that most often they haven't entered as some sort of number one overall seed. They've gone in, they've gotten hot, they've built up, they've gotten stronger. They've made believers of both outsiders and themselves, really, along the way. That's what matters. That's what matters. How about this? TJ Watt winning a playoff game for the first time in his career. Not to check the box, but so that he'd have a chance at more. That's what matters. Not the difference between a second and a third rounder. Omar Khan needs to get that wide receiver, Jimmy, and he needs to get him. Well, he's going to have to get it before the November 5 NFL trade deadline. Enjoy the game, everybody.